And we are back. NFL Week 15 Power Rankings. Starting out at number 32, staying the same, is the 2-11 Raiders. Now, the Raiders did end up losing 28-13 to the Buccaneers. However, a bit more news coming out of the Raiders is they did lose quarterback Aiden O'Connell for the year. Now, that sucks for the Raiders because that is their second quarterback they have lost for the season. Aiden O'Connell, obviously, and then Gardner Minshew. So the real question is, who is the Raiders quarterback moving forward? Do they sign someone? Do they roll with Desmond Ridder? What's the move? What's good for the Raiders, though, is they have a good draft pick. It's really just them and the Giants fighting for it. Speaking of, 31 staying the same is the Giants. They ended up losing their game to the Saints. I believe the score was like 14-11. Now, another big thing to note is Derek Carr did get injured, out for the season more than likely for the Saints. So the Giants, granted that injury happened pretty late into the game, weren't able to win even with that injury. So I think that shows the Giants that they're really not capable of anything. And yeah, just kind of same thing with the Raiders. Their season's over. They might as well just try and find a quarterback in the draft. Number 30, we have the Titans going down 2 spots. 29, we have the Jaguars going up a spot. Now, the reason we're going over both of them at the same time is the Jaguars did beat the Titans 10-6, while also the Jaguars did have Mac Jones, their backup quarterback, as the starter for this game. So it really shows that, yes, the Jaguars beat the Titans with a backup quarterback while putting 10 points. That's really good for the Jaguars considering how bad they did. Now, the Titans, that's why you're going down. Really bad game by you guys. 28, we have the Jets are going to be going up a spot. They're only going up because the Titans are going down. But they played a pretty competitive game against the Dolphins, losing in overtime, which you got to give credit for. Unfortunately for the Jets, that loss did end up eliminating them from the playoffs. So, yeah, there's not much hope for you guys. Maybe next year. 27, we had the Patriots staying the same. They had a bye week next. 26, we had the Browns staying the same. They ended up losing their game to the Steelers. In a game that really wasn't close until the very end, the Browns somehow managed to bring within 13 points, 27-14. So, yeah, Browns didn't look amazing, but they somehow made it a close game, semi-close game towards the end. So, respect for that. 25, we have the Bears going down a spot. They ended up losing their game pretty badly, honestly. 38-13 against the 49ers. And I think this is going to be it for the Bears this season. Obviously, they still have a chance to make the playoffs. But now you're going to, no matter what, finish with a losing record, even if you win out. And I ultimately just think that the Bears need to look on to next season. Because, man, oh, man, do they look like they could have a really great future. Just unfortunately, the cards didn't fall into the right way this year. 24, we had the Panthers are going to be going up a spot. They ended up losing yet another game, this time to the Eagles. The Panthers just seem to be losing these one-score games against really good teams, which is a really bright sign for them considering how bad their roster is. It really just shows the step up that Bryce Young has taken this season. And I ultimately do think that the Panthers will keep Bryce Young after this season. I do think they will have a decent shot. Will have a decent chance at the playoffs if they're able to build the roster correctly. Now, another thing that did happen is rising star for them, Jonathan Brooks, did suffer an ACL injury. He will more than likely be out for not only this season, but majority, if not all of next season because of how late the injury happened. So, it really does suck for, one of the young guys, especially because I believe he is a rookie or not a second-year player. 23, we have the Saints. They're going to be going down a spot. They won 14-11 against the Giants, which is good for them because it keeps their hopes alive for the playoffs. However, it's not good because you only scored 14 points and won by a field goal against the Giants. What sucks as well is Derek Carr is more than likely out for the season, so even though your playoff hopes are still alive, you lost your starting quarterback, so they're pretty much over. So, yeah. Sucks to be you guys. I do think you guys had a really great run, and I do think there is a chance you build off of this season, and you will become one of the better teams next season in the NFC. Maybe not playoffs, but you'll probably be competing for that final wildcard spot. Either getting it or just barely missing out. 22, we have the 49ers going to be going up a spot. Now, that was a great win against the Bears. However, the Bears are 4-9, so it doesn't really mean a whole lot. Now, granted, you're also still in the NFC West, which albeit the this what is their name? The Seahawks are pulling away in that division, but you guys still have a chance. And I don't think you will win it, but you still have a chance. And, well, I'm never going to rule the 49ers out. Never, ever, ever. 21, we have the boys staying the same. Number 20, we have the Bengals staying the same. Now, these two teams ended up playing each other. 27-20, the Bengals won. What really sucks is the Cowboys had a lot better chance at making the playoffs than the Bengals, and even with the loss, the Cowboys still probably have a better chance of making the playoffs than the Bengals. Ultimately, this was just two teams where they're fighting for anything they can get, and unfortunately for the Bengals, even with this, the win probably isn't best for them because it does ruin their draft stock, albeit they still stay alive in the race for another week. But I mean, the Broncos are 8-5, the Ravens are 8-5, the Chargers are 8-5, and you're already knocked out of winning your division. So I don't know how much wiggle room you can have. You're gonna pretty much need to win out and the other teams to lose out. 19, we have the Falcons going down 4 spots. I did not think we'd be talking about the Falcons outside of the top half of the league, but here we are. They have been on a losing streak, and it was a very embarrassing loss to add on to it. They ended up losing 42-21 to the Vikings in a game that at the end of the third quarter was tied at 21. So the Vikings really just lost the game in that the Falcons lost that game in the fourth quarter. But also, they really never did anything to catch up to the Vikings. It was kind of always one of those where you felt like it could be a close game to end it, but you never really thought the Vikings weren't going to win it. So, I mean, I guess respect for giving up 3 quarters to the Vikings, but unfortunately, you got to play 4 quarters if you expect to win in the NFL. And you guys were only able to do 3. Number 18, we have the Colts going up a spot. The only reason they're going up is because the Falcons are going down. They were on a bye. Next, 17, we have the Dolphins. They're going to be staying the same. But they ended up beating the Jets in overtime. It was a really great win by them because it was a game where they were trailing until really the very end, and they pulled out the tie and then got the ball first in overtime and never looked back. And I do think the Dolphins do have a chance to make the playoffs. Obviously, they're still in the hunt. The issue is you're going to have to rely on the Broncos to miss, suck. But also, speaking of, the Dolphins look like one of the better teams in the league. When they're on, they're on. So I do think that if they do make the playoffs, they could be one of the scariest 7-seed teams we see. We saw one win last year. We could be seeing another one, especially if the Dolphins end up making it. Entering the top half, we have the Cardinals, who are 16 down 3 spots. Now, they ended up losing to the Seahawks. Well, I was going to say 30-18, and this is a really tough game for the Cardinals because this kind of puts them in the same category as teams like the 49ers and the Cowboys and the Saints, where you still have a chance to make the playoffs. However, it is a very outside chance. The Seahawks, who are currently leading their division at 8-5, have swept the Cardinals. So the Cardinals need to hope the Seahawks will lose at least 3 out of their final 4, and the Cardinals would have to win out if that's the easiest scenario in order to win their division. And then also they are either 2 or 2.5 games back of the Commanders for that 7th seed. So the Cardinals really needed to win that week. They weren't able to get it done, and that might be all there is for their playoff chances. 15, we have the Rams up 3 spots. They have looked amazing, picking up a 44-42 win over the Buffalo Bills. This was one of the greatest games we'll probably see this season, if not the greatest. And the Bills did really well, obviously. It sucks scoring 42 points and that not being enough to win you the game, but that's just the world we live in. The Rams were able to get it done. They looked really good, and they are still not in the playoffs. They are 7-6. They are the first team out. But thankfully for them, they have the tiebreaker over the Seahawks for their division. So they could end up with only a game out as well of their division. So they could end up with a home game. 14, we have the Texans staying the same. We're going to skip them. They were on a bye week. 13, we have the Buccaneers. Now, this was a great win for them, going up 3 spots, because this put them in the lead in their division. They are now leading their division. It is really a 2-team race between them and the Falcons, and with how the Falcons have looked recently and how the Buccaneers have looked recently, I think it's clear and day who should win this division if the season was to carry on the way it's been going. And this really says a lot for the Buccaneers, because at one point they were down their starting 2 receivers. They are really one of the most banged up teams. They lose Bucky Irving, who was getting really hot I don't know if it's going to be just, he was out for the rest of that game, or if it's going to be he misses multiple games type of injury. But, I mean, the Buccaneers are no strangers to injury this season, so if anyone can get past it, it will be them. 12, we have the Commanders. We're going to skip them. They had a bye week, staying the same. 11, we have the Seahawks. They're going to be staying the same with a nice win over the Cardinals, 30-18. That gives them that much-needed cushion in their division against them. Now it's really just a race between them and the Rams. And, well, thankfully for the Seahawks as well, they're in a great spot for the wild card. So even if they were to drop their division to the Rams, they could very well still make it through, one of those free wild card spots. But they have looked really hot. Even with Kenneth Walker out, Zach Charbonnet went off. So just shows they have depth on that offense. So be careful, rest of the league. Number 10, Broncos staying the same. They're 8-5. They had a bye week. 9, Chargers staying the same. They're 8-5. They ended up losing 19-17 to the Chiefs. And what really sucks for them is that knocks them down from the 5 seed to the 6 seed and also eliminates them from getting a home game in the playoffs, or a guaranteed home game, as the Chiefs have now won that division. And what sucks as well for the Chargers is it's kind of this battle between them, the Ravens, and the Broncos for these final 3 playoff spots, because the AFC is kind of, all 7 teams are locked. It's just, where are they going to finish? Are they going to be the 1 seed, or are they going to be the 7 seed? You don't really know yet. And unfortunately for the Chargers, they lost the tiebreaker to the Ravens, and they could lose the tiebreaker to the Broncos. So depending on what happens the rest of the season, the Broncos and Chargers still play each other once. Be ready for that matchup. Number 8, speaking of, we have the Ravens staying the same. They're 8-5. They had a bye week. 7, Packers staying the same. They're 9-4. They fell 34-31 to the Lions, which really sucks. But looking at that standpoint, the fact that they were able to only lose by a field goal to the Lions in a game where they stayed in it the whole entire time is really good, because I will gladly say it. I have said it so many times. The Lions are not human. They are immortal, it feels like. If they don't win the Super Bowl, it will be a failed season. That's how much expectations they have. Normally, people will just say that. The Lions are actually living that. They are so much better than the rest of the field. And for the Packers to only lose by 3 points is amazing. Now, ultimately, what really sucks for them is they're 9-4, and they're pretty much out of their division race already. And not only that, they're 3rd place in their division. So they're looking at the 6th seed at 9-4, which would be enough to be winning majority of the divisions, I believe, or not majority, but they would be right there in a lot of those divisions, which sucks. But you got to play the hand you're dealt. So Green Bay, you're probably going to make the playoffs, and it probably will be as a wild card spot. So you're just going to have to, do what you can. Number 6, I feel really dirty for doing this. We had the Bills down 3 spots. With the game they had, the factor going down 3 spots is criminal, I will say. However, I do believe teams 3, 4, 5, and 6, who we'll talk about the other teams in a moment, I think they are all right next to each other. That the Bills ultimately, with that loss, they were the only team out of the bunch to lose their game, so they have to go down because of it. Now, granted, like I said, the Bills could very easily jump back up to 3rd place by, week 16, but we're in week 15 right now. Like I said, I think teams 3 through 6 in my power rankings are all right next to each other. So this doesn't really mean a lot. Just think of it as being tied for 3rd. 5, we have the Vikings, who are going to be going up a spot. They ended up winning 42-21 to the Falcons. And this is really one of their first games in a while where they've won and it has not been one score, which is really good. They beat a team who has looked pretty solid this season, albeit shaky towards this second half. And I do think the Vikings are going to, cause some havoc in the playoffs. They haven't clinched yet. They are a 99% plus percentage. They legit need to win, or certain teams to lose to make it. As long as they win one of their final few games, or I think it's the Rams or the Seahawks, one of them lose one of their final few games, they're in. So they're in a great spot. And they've looked really good. Number 4, we have the Steelers. They're going to be going up a spot. They pick up a win over the Browns, and it's kind of the same situation. Their 3 losses came with Justin Fields, who is no longer their starting quarterback, and in a game that was one of the weirdest games we've ever seen because of the snow. So we can't really hold that. And it was a division game, and it was a away game, so we can't really hold that against them. outside of that, they have looked amazing. Now, a big thing coming up is they will be playing the Chiefs here soon on Christmas Day, I believe, or sometime around Christmas. So, if they're able to win that game, that would be huge, not only for, just their record, but getting that 1 seed, which is currently held by the Chiefs, who we're going to talk about right now. The Chiefs, they're going to be going up a spot. They pick up a nice win over the Chargers 19-17. Somehow their magic worked again as they won not only the game, but their division off of a game-winning field goal that doinked off the upright and went in. It's crazy, but this is the world we live in. So, congrats, Chiefs. I don't know what magic you're on, but hey, you're winning games, and that's all that matters. Number 2 and number 1, the Lions and Eagles are both going to be staying the same as they both picked up their wins, respectively 34-31. The Lions got over the Packers, while the Eagles not so, good of a win. But like I said, a win is a win. 22-16 over the Panthers. I do think these are, without question, the top 2 teams in the league. And I am excited for these teams to face each other because if they don't this season, I think it will be a disappointment. But that is going to do it. I hope you guys enjoyed. I did. I will see you guys next time with predictions. Goodbye. Hope you enjoyed.